Active Investor here, bringing you this time not another technical analysis chart, but specifically the SPBIO index, why I like it and how I play it. I'm actually hosting a webinar today in about an hour to my chat room members about the specific ways to play SPBIO for our Prime members. So I figure why not warm up with a little video here for everybody about why I am an SPBIO enthusiast and the benefits that there are to playing it. So really quick, for those of you that don't know, SPBIO is a biotechnology select industry index that tracks S&P biotech companies, obviously from the biotech sector / industry. And as of June 30th, 2016, the companies included in this index have a average market cap of $1.2 billion and an average market cap of $8.14 billion. The companies of the index and the percentage represent the certain industries, and they may change over time, of course. So SPBIO is an index. It's not a stock. It's not a company's stock or anything like that. It is simply an index that tracks the biotech sector on the Standard & Poor's. So very interesting there. And there are a few different ways that you can play this. But my favorite ways are through the ETFs known as LABD and LABU. Those are ETFs provided by Direction Daily, S&P, and one's a biotech bull and the other is a biotech bear. And of course they are 3 times leveraged ETFs, as we like our ETFs to have that leverage. That way they provide more volatility and more potential profits. So that's really the basics of how I play that. Well, rather, that's not really the basics of how I play it, but it's the basics of what they are. I do like to either short with LABD or long with LABU. So if we zoom out here, you can see the SPBIO index all on this daily chart going all the way back to its inception here. And this is, of course, the daily chart. We can look at the weekly, the monthly, or we can go very intraday and look at the 1 minute, the 5 minute, the 15 minute, so on and so on and so on and so on, etc., etc. Let's go back to the daily for now, though. So you can see there's not much information here right now, except the candlesticks and the averages. So I'm going to give you guys a little bit of details on how I play this specifically. Let's show all drawings here on Thinkorswim. You can see all these lines now just appeared here on SPBIO. Let's go to the monthly here. These lines are called my pivot points, and these are how I determine a good entry for SPBIO. Of course, I do use other things, indicators and news and such, but these pivot points are a key detail to play in SPBIO. Let's go back to the daily chart here so we can get a little wider view. So you can see there's many pivot points, and they provide me an accurate entry or exit. They're basically resistance and support levels that, you know, it's not a stock, but it does play to these pivot points very well. And you can see down here I have little segmented lines. Those are soft pivot points. The rest of them are all hard. And occasionally I will put those soft ones back on intraday level. I haven't had any recently, and I'm actually going to delete these since they're old now. So members of the Active Investors chat room get all these pivot points. I update this fairly often, and we can all use this to plan our plays. You can see SPBIO has been on a tear since right about February 9th. It's been going up very nicely. Let's zoom in there. Let's hide all drawings. So you can see it's been uptrending very nicely since February 9th there, making higher lows. It's been very volatile, of course. It hasn't been a clean, steady run. But overall, if you were longing SPBIO in February, you would be at a nice profit right now. Reflecting that, we can take a look at LABU, the way that we would long SPBIO. So let's go to LABU, and let's see in February. February, it had that low of $19, currently trading at $45.75. That's more than a 100% profit you would be at. You would have more than doubled your money on that investment. So that would have been a very good long. In just about 7 months, that's a very good return on an investment. Now, of course, holding a 3 times leveraged ETF is risky due to the volatility and leverage decay involved with that. And if there wasn't leverage decay, you would have probably made closer to 200% on your money through that hold. But due to leverage decay, the position does reset daily, and that's why we see that profits can get a bit erased. And that's why it's generally not a good idea to hold 3 times leverage ETFs unless you're a master trader and can certainly get a read on the market and are super confident in your position for the long term that you're planning on holding it. Rather, for most traders, I would recommend day trading it, not holding it for months. But as you can see, it did pay off in this situation. So for day trading it, that's when we would go to the shorter charts like the 30-minute, for example, and that's when we'd bring back these pivot points. So let's show all drawings. Well, that's strange. It won't let me. Oh, that's of course because we're looking at LABU. Let's go back to SPBIO and let's show all drawings. You can see we've been in between this channel here. Let's see when this channel first occurred. Let's go to the hourly. Maybe that will give us a good look. Okay, here we go. So you can see we had our last pivot point around 4,558, and since then it ran all the way to the next pivot point up there. So that would have been a great day trade. Although it would have been more than day trade, it would have been a little swing trade, holding it for about a week or two, and you would have sold it. So still not quite an investment, but a nice little swing trade there. And that's of course not as risky as actually holding it for an investment due to the leverage decay. Let's go back to intraday level there, 1 minute. So you can see it's been playing around this pivot point, and when it broke down here, it came back up to the pivot point. When it broke above, it came back down to the pivot point, back up, back down, and so on and so on. It's just kind of been dancing there, not making up its mind certainly. So how would we know if we're going to long it or short it? Well, of course, when it gets to the pivot point, that's when we need to look at the overall news for the biotech sector. That's when we need to look at our chart, the relative strength index, amongst other indicators, and things like that to get a really good read. So once again, members of the Active Investors chat room, they do get access to a special watch list I put out on the major biotech stocks that affect SPBIO. And that's one of the key ways that we play SPBIO. We look at that and determine whether we're going to go in LABU or LABD. And of course, even then it is volatile, so you need to know how to use your stops. As you can see here, super volatile. When it broke down, it looked like it was a good short, but it came right back up, broke above the pivot point. You could have longed there, and then you would have got stopped out as it came back down. So you definitely need to know what you're doing for these 3 times leverage ETFs if you're going to be day trading them. But there's definitely a lot of profit potential there. Let's go back to LABU. Let's go over here. You can see even on this day, it was trading at the low of about $42, and it went up to about $44 there. So it was a clean little few percents that you could have made on that. And then over here, very nice day for LABU. Look at the low. Low of around $43, running all the way to the high of $46.53. So you would have made about 7 to 8% on your money if you got on at the low to the high. And once again, if you were good at playing SPBIO, it's not like an equity where it can change depending on the news, the catalyst, the volume, and everything. If you're good at playing SPBIO, you're good at playing SPBIO whenever. You know when to stay out, you know when to go in. And if there's no day trades on equities, you can always take a look at SPBIO and look for a day trade on that. That's really why I like SPBIO. Of course, it has LABU and LABD, and you can always look at those for a potential day trade. I'm not saying it's always going to be a good day trade, but if there's nothing else going on in the market, you don't feel comfortable entering anything else, you can always fall back to those ETFs for a potential day trade and at least make a few percent. About 2 to 5% is not that hard to get on LABU or LABD, depending on your entry, if it's the optimal time. You just need to be good at playing them, and that's of course going to come with experience, but also the proper procedures, which we will teach you. Now let's compare it to some of the other options. So GDX is a pretty famous one, and that's going to be the Vector Gold Miners ETF. Another famous one is crude oil. So you have, GDX, you have crude oil. Another really popular one is like natural gas, which you would use UGAS or DGAS. So all these, especially oil is super risky. It's got a lot of economic shocks that it has to deal with, a lot of specific news coming out, like rig reports and that sort of thing. And even when you have like a bullish rig report, sometimes it'll just fly down and vice versa. Oil is not really an easy thing to trade, in my opinion. There's just too much that it relies on economically for it to be very easy to trade. Same thing with GDX. There's a lot of economic shocks that factor into gold. You have to look at GDX, you have to look at the dollar index, you have to look at all these things in order to really get a clear read on gold. You'd have to look at gold itself as well as GDX. So there's a lot of factors that go into it. SPBIO is much more straightforward and it's much easier to read in my opinion, and I just feel much more confident playing SPBIO. I'm not a big fan of natural gas either, and so I can't really comment on natural gas. I've never really been a fan of playing that one. But SPBIO is definitely my favorite of the big four there. Natural gas, oil, GDX, and SPBIO. It's definitely my favorite, and for the reasons I just mentioned. So if you guys haven't checked out SPBIO, I would advise you to check that out. And if you'd like to learn more about how we play that, feel free to join us in Active Investors chat room. You can join us at activeinvestors.net, sign up there, and we're covering that much more deeply in tonight's webinar. And if you guys have any questions, if you missed that webinar, you're welcome to post in the chat and ask anything there in the Prime chat. So consider signing up for that, and we'll see you there.